AI biggest winner to date. But the companies enabling NVIDIA's success might be the next top movers in 2025. But why? I'll give you my top 3 AI stocks for 2025, and at the end, I'll share my vision on NVIDIA stocks. With some quick AI knowledge to get everyone on the same page. NVIDIA builds the infrastructure that powers AI, called GPUs. Think of it this way. You can't make a movie without a camera, and you can't build AI without a GPU. Capiche? The first stock I really like for 2025 is Micron Technology. Micron provides memory solutions for NVIDIA's GPUs. Let's talk memory. Most electronic devices require some amount of memory because that's where data is stored while computations are performed. Think about your laptop. Because it has memory, yes, you can store your files, but also because it has memory, you can load websites fast, you can open applications very fast. Micron make these memory chips. But that's not the side of the story that I'm interested in. I'm interested in the AI story. Before getting any further, and because this is America and people love to sue everybody, I just gotta say, this video is not a financial advice. I'll share the stocks I like, and you need to do your own research. Also, because I like them, I own the stocks. Right? Brewing Kitty?
I invested in GameStop in 2019 and 2020 because I like the stock.
Okay, AI story. Large language models like ChatGPT need a huge amount of memory. 1, to train the model, and 2, for the model to answer our questions. Without memory, these models couldn't generate real-time responses. And as AI gets bigger, the need for memory gets bigger. Also, AI drives a strong demand for memory chips in our own electronics. Think about like the next AI-enabled PCs or smartphones like the iPhone 16, which is the first built with Apple Intelligence. They are expected to need 40 to 100% more memory than our known AI electronics, which will be very old very soon. There are 3 big memory makers in the world, and only one is based in the US.
Micron.
The largest memory maker in the world is Samsung, a South Korean company, followed by SK Hynix, not to be confused with Heineken. That's the private memory. And who likes made in America?
If you don't make your product here, then you will have to pay a tariff, a very substantial tariff, when you send your product into the United States.
Yep. But not only him. Biden signed the CHIPS Act in 2022 with $52 billion in subsidies for chip companies to manufacture on US soil after the trauma during the pandemic supply chain disruption. And of course, Micron is going to benefit from this funds. They are building a new facility in Boise, nobody knows where is this, and 4 new facilities in New York, which are going to be the biggest US chip project in history. In the memory world, not all chips are created equal. The type and speed of memory can be different. And for advanced AI models like ChatGPT, the high bandwidth memory, or HBM, are the critical components. HBM enables these models to process vast amounts of data efficiently, helping them remember past conversations and user preferences. Now, hear this. NVIDIA's new GPU, it's called Blackwell. And who is selling them the HBM chips? In the voice of Jensen Huang, god of Silicon Valley, and the founder of NVIDIA.
We've got great partners, everybody from TSMC and Vertiv and SK Hynix and Micron, Spill, Amkor.
SK Hynix and Micron, yeah. And who's missing? Samsung. It seems that Samsung is struggling to get its HBM chips certified for using NVIDIA's GPUs. So Micron has this beautiful story. More AI needs more GPUs for NVIDIA, and the GPUs need more memory, and one of only 3 memory makers cannot yet supply the HBM. But there are plenty of beautiful stories out there. Disney, favorite story for other reasons, not AI. So why do we buy a certain stock, you would ask an equity research analyst. These are the people who calculate what's the fair price of a stock given the cash flows the company is expected to generate. And if you never met an equity research person before, hi, I was one of them for many years. Wrote all of these reports on which stock to buy, which stock to sell with my former amazing boss, Pavel, who's the best writer. In hindsight, I should have signed all of these reports with my maiden name. Got divorced.
Are you single?
Too much information. Moving on. As of September 2024, most analysts had a buy on this stock with huge price targets, implying a great upside for Micron stock. TD Cowen, strong buy with a price target of $135. Bank of America with a price target of 125. Raymond James, hello friends, with a price target of 140. And then this happened.
Micron plummets. It is down more than 17%. It is having its worst day since March 2020.
And that made me like the stock even more because the entry point is lower. Yes, they're selling less than expected memory chips to the consumer electronics. But look at this. Their AI chip business surpassed their consumer electronic for the first time ever. Future cash flows are changing, and the analysts saw that. They cut their price targets. For example, Goldman cut to 128, JP Morgan to 145, but they still have a buy. With an average price target of 134 compiled among 26 analysts. Micron's ratios look pretty healthy. PEG ratio,
0.35 times.
EV to EBITDA multiple,
9.4.
way below the average of the semiconductor space. Ignore this if you're not in the finance world. So Micron's narrative is beautiful. More AI needs more GPUs for NVIDIA, and the GPU needs more memory. And I think the sell-off is unwarranted. And because of that, it's one of my picks for 2025. The second AI stock I like is ASML. Let's go back to the Micron factory. These memory chips are built with features smaller than 15 nanometers. That's very, 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 very tiny. A human hair is 3,000 times thicker than these tiny features. But here's the really cool part. To create the features inside a chip, you can just use a needle. That's how I thought they created. Or any physical tool for that matter. It's way too small for that. Instead, you use light. A special type of light, like a super thin laser, so you can create these tiny details needed for most advanced chips. This light, it's called extreme ultraviolet, or UV light. And if this rings a bell, it's because the sun emits UV light. UV light doesn't naturally exist on Earth in a way that we can use. So to make chips, we need to recreate UV light and point these beams onto the chip to etch these incredibly tiny patterns like Polly Pockets, which make the chip work. And there is only one company in the entire world that knows how to build these machines. ASML in the Netherlands. ASML builds UV lithography machines.
What'd you say?
What? You don't know what's lithography? I had no clue. Lithography is what they call the process of creating tiny features on a chip. An UV lithography machine has the size of a city bus, but working with atomic level precision. And this is not only for Micron's chips. All latest high-performance microchips, think of data centers, cars, every single iPhone needs UV lithography machines. You see where I'm going? AI is booming. AI needs high-performance microchips. AI needs ASML, the only company that makes UV lithography machines. I will repeat, the only company that makes UV lithography machines. Never thought I would say lithography for so many times. I know what you're asking. Okay, so what they used before the UV? Chip makers used deep ultraviolet light to etch these features into their chips. There are 3 companies they could choose from: ASML, Nikon, and Canon. ASML launched its UV machine in 2018, changing the game. To have some appreciation for this kind of Nobel Prize level machine, Look at this. Each UV machine is made up of 7 different modules, each built in different locations in the world, then shipped to Netherlands to be assembled for testing. Then it is disassembled for shipping, which takes 20 trucks and 3 fully loaded 747s. I get tired only thinking about all of this supply chain. Each machine costs around 200 million, so of course only 5 customers can afford to buy. Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, Intel, and TSMC. And if your competitor is using ASML, you have no choice but to use ASML because you don't want your chips to be worse than the chips from your competitor. So yes, ASML is currently a monopoly, woo, and will likely continue to be so in the foreseeable future. Experts say it could take decades for any other company to catch up, not only because ASML has patents and has spent decades and billions of dollars perfecting the technology, but because they built a very complex supply chain. They have over 800 suppliers on the product side, often with exclusive deals. And even if one day a company reached the point of building a UV machine, it could take years for them to be accepted by the buyers. This story is just mind-blowing. How about the share price? Let's take a look. Ratio-wise, it doesn't look as cheap as Micron with PE of 36, but EV/EBITDA 28, which is still lower than the 33 times average of the semiconductor space. But more than that, I really like their financials. That's EBITDA of 0.53. And not considering cash. If you consider cash, this actually is going to be negative because they have more cash than they have that. The analyst consensus is an overweight, which is a buy. The average of the price targets 870. The highest is JP Morgan. There are no competitive modes better than a monopoly, especially in a space that it's growing. That's why I really like this stock. Last but not least, Dell Technologies. Doesn't sound as fun because you already know Dell. Hear the AI story, which is very simple. Dell makes AI servers. Whenever you see a data center picture, you see thousands or even millions of servers. Now, AI servers are the supercharged version of regular servers. So Dell buys the GPUs from NVIDIA, who bought the memory chips from Micron, and assemble the GPUs along with the CPUs Dell bought from AMD or Intel and put them all together, covered with cooling systems that Dell bought from Vertiv. Add the high-speed storage from maybe Seagate, the networking hardware from Mellanox or Broadcom. That's what Dell does. They assemble the supercomputers to power the heavy AI workloads. A supercomputer is made up of thousands or even millions of these interconnected servers. And that's it. Someone needs to assemble this entire enchilada and ensure that all pieces work together. They created the Dell AI Factor with all the hardware and software companies need to adopt AI at scale. And that business is growing fast. And as Michael Dell said,
an AI factory is really a supply chain that creates intelligence. So
the top 3 companies offering AI servers are Dell, HP, and Supermicro. And Supermicro has been rocked by an accounting scandal. I love accounting scandals. Last October, their auditor, EY, resigned. That's never a good sign. And then he created all these uncertainties regarding the company's outlook. So Dell stands to benefit from this. But how is this AI supercomputer assembly going for Dell? Very well, glad you asked. In June 2024, they announced they are building an AI supercomputer with the most loved and hated person simultaneously in the world, Elon Musk, for its xAI. In November, Dell and Meta joined forces to build AI infrastructure using Llama 2 models and their own hardware. I wouldn't be surprised if more partnerships come along in 2025. Let's talk about the share price. In November, the stock experienced a sell-off because traditional PC demand remains weak following the post-pandemic boom. And I think this is overshadowing Dell's potential in the AI service market. Strong revenue growth is already very evident from that segment. It jumped 58% year over year. And I think this is only the beginning. Analysts have a buy consensus with an average price target of 132. Now let's see the ratios here. They are trading at 21 times PE multiple, which it's not cheap, but the forward PE is dropping and PEG ratio is 1. But what I really believe we're gonna see in this year is this inflection point of all this revenue composition changing from this traditional PCs and traditional servers to AI PCs and AI servers. Plus, at some point, people will want to buy new PCs, especially when they become AI powered. Hello. You can call me Dell. You can sponsor my video. That's why I like the stock. Lastly, Nvidia. Yes, I still like Nvidia. I know it's up 1,000%, but the reality is there's no AI without Nvidia. So when it comes to Nvidia, in my view, it's not about valuation, how high is the stock, Wall Street. It's like when Apple invented the iPhone. 2007. It wasn't about valuation, the multiples anymore. That was an inflection point where Apple was going to change global society forever. So you gotta think long term. And if you're bullish in the sector beyond 2025, there are other stocks too. But which?